Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ochakde show. I'm your host, Sachin Syal. I'm a 16-year-old award-winning entrepreneur from the Bay Area. I'm the co-founder and CEO of 3doshas.com, an Ayurvedic wellness and lifestyle company. If you're new here, this is a talk show or podcast where I interview entrepreneurs and inspiring individuals from all walks of life so we can learn from their stories and level up ourselves. The purpose of the show is to inspire you to go for it, which is what Ochakde means. Today's special guest is Jason Patel. Let me tell you some more about him. Jason is a co-founder and CEO of Transition, an integrated knowledge platform that empowers young professionals to mentor the next generation of students. Jason's goal is to close the opportunity divide in America by leveraging technology, marketplaces, and networks. He believes America's and the world's greatest emerging threat is a displacement that will arise once automation hits industries at a greater scale. As an entrepreneur himself, Jason wants to champion the causes of everyday citizens and help them find opportunities that will better their stations in life. So let's get to some fun facts about Jason. Um, he's a Brazilian. I don't know how to say that. How do you say it?
Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu. I'm always like jiu-jitsu, and then it like messes up in my mouth. But
The tongue
yeah,
twister more.
purple belt. That's insane. Then also he's a Toastmasters champion. He's a former nationally ranked boxer. And he's also gotten some incredible press. He's been featured in Washington Post, BBC, NBC News, Fox Business, Digest, Forbes, and other top publications. I think the coolest thing about Jason is that one of his students actually got over $700,000 in scholarships. That's amazing stuff, man.
I
And
really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for having me here, man. I'm looking forward to being on the show.
yeah, how's your day been going so far?
It's been going well. Today's Saturday, so it's been a little more informal and relaxed. Went to the gym, got some quick work done, opened some bottlenecks. Overall, it's been very productive and very restful.
Nice, glad to hear that. Yeah, my day is going pretty good too. I've been looking forward to this interview for a while, so thanks again for being on the show. Let's start with the first question. Can you give us a little background on why and how you started Transition and what exactly Transition does to help high schoolers?
Yeah, so ultimately, Transition connects young professionals that we train and vet to high school students. And then they help those high school students navigate the college and career process using our tools and technologies that we develop in-house. So think of us as a marketplace, online college and career counseling. I got into this space because when I was a student at George Washington University, I worked to guide kids with the college and career process in and around DC. I loved it. And ultimately, when I graduated, I quit my job, my full-time corporate job, to do volunteering full-time. And I loved it. In order to keep myself afloat, I worked 3 part-time jobs, cleaning apartments and bathrooms, doing social media for small businesses, and teaching martial arts. Again, I loved volunteering and helping in the college and career space. One of my students, as you mentioned, got $700,000 plus in scholarships. And his mom said I should stop volunteering, start a business, and then do the volunteering on the side so I could scale. And I did exactly that. That's how Transition was born. It's been one happy accident after another, but I've truly found my calling and I'm very blessed to be here.
Wow, that's such a great story. But let's talk about how like you quit your like paid job to do volunteering. Most people wouldn't do that. Why'd you choose to do that?
I think life is very short. I think when you look back on it, you won't worry about how much work you did or how much money you made. I think you'll think about the meaning that you brought to your life and the kind of struggle you've been through. I'm that type of person that needs a challenge. And if I feel like a job is not giving me a challenge, if I feel like I don't have an adversary or something in front of me to really take on, then it's just not worth it. I found volunteering and helping students to be something super worthwhile, even at the time if I wasn't making any money at all. So I really fell in love with it. I also think that in a greater sense, a lot of students are flooded with social media, flooded with different electronic messages, and they don't know where to go. They don't know how to navigate the process. And if I could be that friend in the dark forest to guide those kids, I'm more than happy to play that part. So when I quit my job, I didn't think of it as a risk, honestly. I thought of working a job that I didn't like as a bigger risk, spending my 20s, 30s, 40s, and the rest of my life making money, but working at a job that I don't like and don't feel fulfilled at. It's not worth it to me. To me, the bigger risk is wasting time or spending time doing something that brings no meaning to my life. I'd rather face on a challenge head on and really cut my teeth on something that can challenge me and make me a better person. So quitting my job, honestly, wasn't that much of a risk. I wanted to do that, and I'm very glad I did it.
You're awesome, man. And I know what you mean by volunteering. I'm a volunteer myself at a ed tech startup that Khan started, Schoolhouse.world, and I've been tutoring someone actually in his 50s to help him get his high school diploma. And there was a documentary made about that story too. So I know what you mean about volunteering. Like when you help someone, you feel happy yourself and you feel like you're contributing to someone else's success. So yeah, I agree with you, and I think it's pretty cool that you quit your job.
Yeah, no, I
S-
appreciate that. And if I may say too to other younger entrepreneurs who are going to be watching this program or this episode, giving yourself to other people and serving other people is a great way to build those bonds, but also feel a lot more fulfilled.
yeah.
Truly, yeah. You can chase money or chase prestige or certain types of labels, but at the end of the day, if you're good to other people and you contribute to their story, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's talk about the early days of transition. Was it like you already had interest from the get-go, it was doing well, or how did, and you also have a co-founder, so how was that process working with him and how did it go? Yeah.
So at transition at first, I just started it on my own. It was just me alone. And honestly, those first 2 or 3 years were really hard, really miserable. There was no interest from anybody. And I originally started to sell our product to schools, and schools didn't want these workshops that my company was offering. So, and honestly, I don't blame the schools. There was no market for it. But I tried to essentially build a solution and then find a problem for it. Whereas a good entrepreneur finds a problem and then builds a solution for it. I learned that through a lot of trial and tribulation over the course of 2 or 3 years. Then I roped in one of my best friends, Darik, into building a tech platform. So we would build an online college counseling tech platform for schools and for individuals. And that's when the company really started to take off. Like I said, three-ish years later. Working with Darik has been incredible. I think I'm blessed in that he's been my best friend for about 25 years. Our parents have known each other since we were in kindergarten. Darik and I are the same age. And I trust him, he trusts me. We have a lot of integrity in our process. We're able to split up friendship and business. It's been worth it. He is the yin to my yang, and I love working with him. I think the reason why we work so well together is that we stay true to our word, we keep our promises, and then our personalities mesh very well. I love sales and marketing and talking to people. I love testing out ideas. I don't mind public speaking. I don't mind failing in public and making myself look kind of bad. It's okay. It's life. Whereas Darik is more of a terminator when it comes to coding. He's a beast of a coder. He's more quiet. So he and I complement each other very well.
Nice. This is a perfect match. That's why the company's doing so well. I understand it now. Let's talk about like, so I know that transition is more than just, the typical company we help high schoolers get into the college they want to get into. You guys are helping to inspire and grow the leaders of tomorrow. So what initiatives are put in place to do that?
Absolutely. So, we have two operations for our platform. One is the consumer side, and one is the school side. So, for the consumer side, we really place an emphasis on high dosage mentorship, which is providing 20, 30, 40, 50 hours of tutoring and mentorship to students, not just for college counseling, but also for career counseling. But the issue with the consumer side of education is that while it's an awesome premium product and we can provide literally the top industry experience to our customers, it's expensive. And all consumer education ends up being expensive. So what we do is that we work with schools as well, where we sell our platform to schools. The schools in the township paying for it, and then it's free for students. So that way, if students don't have money, or if they come from a household where there might be a single parent or undocumented citizens, we're able to help the kids at no cost to the students. And I'm really proud of that. I think that our ability to work with schools is a huge competitive advantage, but also it helps us do good for the country, helps us do good for our communities. It's not just kids with money are the ones who should be able to get this top tier mentorship. The fact that we're able to help people and kids from all walks of life really makes it all worth it.
That's remarkable, man. I really like that. And I think how many schools have you guys worked with so far?
So our schools program, we actually launched this year after a lot of beta testing, and we're working with about 300 students right now across
Wow.
four.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's
and
really
we're
good.
expecting to work with a lot more schools in 2023. So we're very excited for it.
Nice. Let's talk about, I mean, we already talked about this a little earlier, but I mean, over $700,000 in scholarships from one student. Can we talk more about that?
Yeah,
Like, how did that
absolutely.
happen?
Absolutely. I think I give full credit to the student. All we helped do was help them tell a story. Ultimately, these kids and so many teenagers and young people across the country are so full of interesting stories, interesting facts, and they have so much to offer the world. All we're doing is amplifying their voices and helping them tell the right story when it comes to applying for work or applying to college. What we want to do is expand that opportunity to more kids, so more kids get scholarships, more kids find the right college or career of their choice. So ultimately, the student that got that much money, he did the work. He deserves the credit, and we're blessed and we're thankful for him and his mom for allowing us to work with him. All we do is help tell a story, but it's his story, and we're very happy to have worked with him.
Yeah, I've never heard something like that. When I looked at the website, I'm like, wait, is it 70,000? They're like, no, it's 700,000. I'm like, wow. Like, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so it was full rides from a couple of schools and a couple of partial scholarships, and then a couple of independent scholarships that we helped find for him as well. So yeah, it all adds up. And one thing we're very proud of is that he's not going to have any loans or any type of financial burden once he graduates from college. He's actually in his final year of college now, so this was a couple of years ago.
That's
So
really good.
yeah, we're helping not just set him up for college success, but for success thereafter.
Nice. So you are an entrepreneur, but you were also a boxer. Let's talk about that, man. What does it take to be a boxer? How was your experience with that?
Jujitsu, grappling, boxing. I competed in the World Kickboxing Association National Muay Thai tournament back when I was 19.
Wow.
And yeah, it was such a fun experience. A very high level of fighters. I didn't want to take so many head blows and trauma to my head and get concussions. So I stopped when I was about 22 or 23 after a couple fights. But you just need grit. I think fight sports are a lot about digging well within you into your soul and finding out what you're really made of. I think another thing too is it involves an evolution. When it comes to boxing or jiu-jitsu, what ends up happening is that it takes a long time to get really good. And to be a really good pure athlete gets you past the first one or two rings of competition. But to be really good, you need to develop your art and develop your craft. It takes time to do, it takes patience. And I think most important, you have to put your ego aside. You will get beat up by
Yeah.
people who are smaller than you or people who are more talented than you, people who have been doing it longer. And just like with entrepreneurship, just like with learning any art, any craft, any type of skill, you got to lose a lot to win later on. You got to invest in the losses and learn from those lessons in order to be better for the future. So to be a boxer, to be a grappler, I think yeah, it requires grit. And I tell everyone, you're going to suck for the first 1 or 2 years. Just stick with it. I mean, how much of life is just showing up, being persistent, staying consistent, and then ultimately getting better in the long term? That's what life is.
That really is what life is, man. I love it. It's exactly what you're saying. But let's talk about current day. What does like a day in the life of Jason look like?
Yeah, so the standard day is, I'm not going to brag about anything on a show and to make myself look good. I am
Okay.
not I'm not an early waker. I'll get up at 9. We have a remote company, so we don't have to go to an office anywhere. I'll get up at 9, make my coffee, and just do some general admin work, check emails to make sure there are no fires needing to be put out. Afterward, I'll do stretching and yoga. Just before, I shower and get ready for the rest of the day, have some lunch. And then after work is done at around, let's say 6:15, I leave for jiu-jitsu. I live in Jersey City. My jiu-jitsu gym is Unity Jiu-Jitsu in downtown New York. So I go to Manhattan, takes about a 25, 30-minute train ride, do an hour and a half to 2 hour practice there, do a bunch of training, get back at 9 or 10, shower again, do some work, eat dinner, and then call it a day. It's actually wonderful. I think about it every day, how lucky I am to train at one of the finest jiu-jitsu gyms in the world, but also work with wonderful people, people who are way smarter and more talented than me. And the fact that they've chosen me as their leader is such an honor. So that's what a day looks like. Not very eventful, but it's a disciplined day. Yeah, I pay attention to flow states and making sure I'm being productive, but I also make sure that at 6 o'clock, I disconnect for a little bit, get that training in, kick some ass, get my ass kicked, and then come back to work just to finish off the day. So that's what it generally looks like. And I'm, again, very thankful for it. It's a great way to be spending my time. I don't loiter. I don't have a lot of downtime, but I'm okay with that. I don't need downtime. I need focus. I need a challenge, and business, entrepreneurship, and then jiu-jitsu provide all that for me.
Nice. I think everything you do in your day is amazing, but I want to mention something. You mentioned you do yoga and stretching. I think that's really good because I actually started a company based on Ayurveda and yoga, and we teach people to like do these things. So yeah, I think it's really cool that you do that. Who taught you that, and like why did you start getting into that?
So it's wild, right? So I'm 30 years old, and jiu-jitsu is a sport where I want to be doing it for a long time, but it takes a toll on your body, man.
Okay, yeah.
So when I was 25, I started to get little nagging injuries here and there. And especially when you're 25, you'll find out what I'm talking about. When you're in your teens and your early 20s, you can do anything without stretching and without really preparing yourself or warming up, without getting hurt. Once you're 25, 26, you'll start feeling injuries here and there on your neck, maybe your knees. And I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't suffer from any catastrophic injury. So
Yeah.
I learned how to stretch and do yoga. I bought a really big yoga mat. It's like a 6x6 mat. Put it down in my office right behind me and stretch every day. It's an investment into my body. And although sometimes I don't want to do it, I do it because, again, it's that investment. I am making sure the Jason of today is telling 40-year-old Jason, listen, I got you. Although I'm going to meet 40-year-old Jason 10 years from now, at the very least, we can stay healthy and continue doing what I love, which is fight sports, for the rest of my life. And then eventually I can teach people. That would be wonderful. It would be a huge honor, but I have to take care of myself and invest in my body to do that. So let's start taking care of myself now. And then once I'm older, I'll be very thankful for the investment that I made in taking care of my joints, my cartilage, and my ligaments. And I've had one major injury from boxing. I tore my labrum back when I was 19 or 20 years old. Otherwise, no catastrophic injuries. And a lot of that is because I do a ton of stretching.
Nice. Yeah. I've interviewed a lot of people, but I think like I've learned the most from this episode, and you have like a ton of knowledge. I need to talk to you more. As we wrap up here, let's go to the last two questions. These are the last two questions that I asked all my guests. So let's start with the first one. The first one is, what's your best advice for teens?
I think, my best advice for teens, honestly, is just be young, be a kid, make mistakes. I think one thing that I think teenagers have a much harder time with today than with when I was growing up is that you guys are completely engulfed and surrounded by social media and different voices. When I was growing up, Facebook and some of the, MySpace and some of these social media platforms were just taking off. So they weren't as ubiquitous as they are for your grade level session. But I would say to your friends and to people, young people especially listening to this, is that life is about making mistakes. It's about learning. It's about evolving. It's about being better than you were the week before. And when you have microphones and cameras in your face and in your ears all the time, it makes it really hard to develop. I think you should forgive yourself for mistakes. I think you should just relax, enjoy being young, enjoy being a teenager, have great years, from 18 to 22, whether you're in college or working a vocation. Of course, you want to work hard and stay dedicated, but be young, have fun. It makes it all worth it later on. The mistakes you make now, as long as they're not really cardinal sin mistakes, right? You learn from them, and then you become a better person when you're older. When I have kids one day, I'll tell them when they're teenagers, you're under a lot of pressure, relax. It's going to be okay. And try to stay off the social media, try to stay off a lot of this other stuff if you can, if it's not necessary. But just relax, have a good time, be a kid, because when you're older, you'll miss those days, and you'll hope that you were able to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and learn those lessons so that you can invest in your future. If you're putting yourself under pressure all the time, it's not a good way to grow.
Yeah.
And so therefore, I'd say take it easy, be a kid, learn, relax, and just taking those lessons one by one.
I love it, man. Okay, so last question of the day. What was your favorite part of being on the Ochakde show?
It's interesting, Sachin. So this is my first time actually meeting you, but I've seen a
Mhm.
bunch of your interviews from before. So I think meeting you is pretty cool. You've had the honor of working with and interviewing some really fantastic people who are far smarter and more talented than I am. And the fact that I get to meet you and you're going to be a very successful guy one day, it is my favorite part. Finally, we get to speak one on one and have
Yeah.
this interaction. So I'm very happy for that.
Thanks for the kind words. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it was nice meeting you. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.